Well, Charles, in the Enugu Center, thank you very much. A beautiful Tuesday morning there in Enugu. And let me tell you something. The temperature dropped here in Abuja. So all of us are enjoying early morning cool temperature. So you're welcome to Abuja. This is Signature Morning. My name is Nwabuoze Njoko. Remember that about 5 weeks ago, we raised the question, what manner of military does Nigeria want? And then we added to it, what manner of military does Nigeria deserve? Now we looked at the role of Nigeria as a nation in regional, continental, and global politics. And the bottom line of that conversation was that it is the political leadership that determines what it will do with its military, and therefore begin to define what kind of military Nigeria needs and deserves. This morning, we are looking at another dimension to the Nigerian military, and this is looking at the military-civil relations, because the military is our military. And so how does the military relate with us, the civilians? Now, this morning, I have a very strategic, well-informed guest, and I'm very proud of it. My guest is Rear Admiral Olusanya Bankole. Rear Admiral Bankole is the Chief of Defense Civil Military Relations at Defense Headquarters. Rear Admiral, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Njoko. It's my pleasure to be here. And also, may I, on behalf of my principal, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwabi-Musa, thank you for the patriotic things you do for our country, in nation building, and all the other things you do in disseminating information. It's actually my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you very much. I want to be educated. I'm going to come from purely point of ignorance. When you talk about military-civil relations, what are we talking about? What is really military-civil relations?
Okay, civil-military relations, as the word goes, is the relationship between the military and the civilian populace. They are in different strata. But I want to, first of all, before I mention the strata, I want to reiterate what you said. The military is an integral part of the society. We are recruited from the society. We are molded to fight and to lead. And after that, when we retire, we go back to the society. So you cannot distance the military from the society. So what is the relationship between the military and the society? The military and the civilian populace is on three strata. One is the issue of the CMR itself, which is the civil military relation. As enshrined in the Constitution, the civilian authority have supervisory roles over the military. That's why there are oversight functions. That's why the Chief of Defense Staff is operationally responsible to the CNC. Administratively is responsible to the Honorable Minister of Defense. That's why we have committees on defense in the National Assembly and the House of Rep. So there is oversight functions of the military by the civil authority. That is the first part of civil military relations. The second part is what they call aid to civil authority and disaster relief. That is when the president orders the military to do some things. Like, for example, what we are doing right now as insurgency, it is aid to the directive from the president. As a directive from the president to aid civil authority. So in doing that also, we also have what they call disaster relief, disaster control. When there's disaster, the military are the first responders. So we try to aid civil authority. And it also what happens during elections. The military helps in taking election material, like the Air Force takes election materials, sensitive materials. The Navy takes election materials to far-flung places by sea, and that is also an aid to the civilian authority. The other one, the last part, which I'm more interested in, is the one of civil-military cooperation. Now, because the military, as we said, is the Nigerian military. We are the armed forces of Nigeria. And most of our resources, intelligence, even come from the civil population. We want to directly impact. So that is why we do medical rhapsody. We do some humanitarian intervention. I will just quickly mention one about, I think it was last year in an IDP camp in Yola. There was a person that gave birth to co-joined twins, and the Nigerian Air Force had to fly for an operation with the twins. There was a successful operation carried out, and it came back. Those are the things we do. During the flooding in Maiduguri last year, the military was all over. They were the people that were ferrying, because that was the only means of transportation. The same thing happened in Yanagwa during the flood, I think in 2023. The Navy was just there. So those are the levels, different strata of civil-military relations. Thank you, sir.
Now, you know that institutionally, these can be understood. I understand. The Nigerian in the street who sees his military. Let me tell you something very quickly. Only few Nigerians are not afraid of the soldier or the naval officer. Why do you think that is so? Only few are not afraid of the soldier or the military man.
There was a time under normal circumstances, the military is meant to protect you. So you should not actually be afraid of the person that is meant to protect you. People run away from the military, but you're supposed to run to the military for protection. And I think it's a narrative of over so many years, probably after the Civil War, where there was a need to enshrine force to get some things. And I think that has stayed with us over a while. And also, because of that, and also probably because of military intervention in politics, a lot of people have this perspective that the military is not somebody you need to be friendly with. But the truth is that the military is meant to protect the territorial integrity of Nigeria. The military is meant to protect Nigerians and Nigerian infrastructure. The military is the armed forces of Nigeria. The military is your military. The military is my military. It's not, the recruitment is from from the society itself. It's not from outside. So you need to be friendly with your military. And also, the truth is this: my salary is paid through taxes from the civilian populace. So I need to serve the people. And that is why every military man, every soldier, every rating, every airman swears an oath: one, to defend the territorial integrity of his country; two, to protect the lives and properties of the people of this country; and the third one is any other duty the President Commander-in-Chief sends you to do. That is what we do as a military. And I was telling somebody was telling me some times ago that in America, people salute their military because they believe the military is theirs. Yes. I want to assure you, with the trajectory the Chief of Defense Staff is taking now, and the immediate past Chief of Defense Staff, the military will earn its trust from the people. We're going to build our trust back. We're going to earn our respect back from people, because the truth is that the military is doing a lot in Nigeria. The military is doing a lot. So I told somebody, okay, when the military people see the military, salute the military outside, they want to, but what about in Nigeria? And I told them a story. There was a time I was a young officer. I went to Australia for training. Somewhere they call the place Wollongong, it's south of Sydney. On completion of my training, I went to the Sydney airport, and I was supposed to. I didn't have a weighing scale then, so by the time they weighed, they said my bag was more than 23 kg, one of the bags. So I just took to that side, and I opened my bag, and the lady there said, they saw boots, military and military. I said, oh, are you in the military? I said, yes, ma, I came for a 6-month program. Oh, okay, pack your things, pack it, don't worry, and that was the respect they showed for the
and
military.
the value they place on
And
you.
the value they place on the military. But I can assure you, sir, we're working towards it. We'll get back.
As we work towards this, I just want to draw us a little bit back to history. Combat is not romance, and it affects the individual psyche. This country, the Nigerian military, was in active combat for 30 months during the Civil War. I knew the Nigerian military before the Civil War. I had people who were friends to my family, and I knew what friendship was with soldiers. Fantastic. Sometimes we had the fortune of going to the Mami market. It was a friendly environment. But during the Civil War, the Nigerian military was in active combat for 30 months. During that period, the military developed a force mentality. 1. 2, it developed a top dog mentality. Now, after that Civil War, the military remained in politics and also acquired a superiority mentality. I'm going to play back a tape now, before you answer me, of a training that the military conducted a while ago. Please, can I have that tape? Just play it back for me.
The Armed Forces of Nigeria is saddled with the critical role of protecting civilians
to empower troops with the knowledge and skills necessary to integrate human security and gender perspectives into military operations while strengthening non-kinetic operational approaches. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwampi Musa, on Monday declared open the Human Security and Gender Advisor course at the National Defense College, Abuja, which was organized by the Defense Headquarters in collaboration with the British Defense Staff. Declaring the 8-day course open in Abuja, the CDS was represented by the Chief of Civil Military Relations, DHQ, Rear Admiral Olusanya Bankole stressed that human security and gender considerations are no longer secondary issues in military operations, as they are essential components of strategic planning, operational effectiveness, and sustainable peace.
Is to empower participants with the knowledge and skills necessary to integrate human security and gender perspectives into military operations while strengthening our non-kinetic operational approaches. In a world where conflicts often cloud our perspectives, embracing non-kinetic strategies fosters human security, inclusivity, and ensure that conflicts are navigated with respect for all, regardless of gender, while promoting trust and sustaining peace. Hence, this course will provide the necessary knowledge and tools to analyze security challenges through a gender-sensitive and human-centric lens, which is crucial in shaping the future of our operations and ensuring that our military engagements contribute positively to national and regional stability.
Okay, the Human Security and Defense Advisors course, the main essence is to re-emphasize issues of human security and civil-military relationship. How do we involve the community, safeguarding the lives of people? You know, Nigeria now is faced with a lot of, we're doing a lot of counter-insurgency warfare, counter-terrorism warfare. But the emphasis of the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Gwampi Musa, is not only to win the war, but to win the peace.
So part of this training is to enlighten even soldiers across the theaters that it is the people we are protecting. So what is needed to able to have human security, and also to make sure that no gender is discriminated against. DHQ, we have about 8 main theaters of operations. So we're getting, because those are the people on the field itself. So we're getting 2 nominees from them. Then the services are sending people. In all, we're thinking about between 45 and 55 people. But essentially, we're also targeting females so that we can be able to sensitize them, and also the commanders on the field, on gender sensitivity.
Addressing journalists, the officer commanding CIMIC 11 Brigades UK Outreach Group said he and his team are optimistic that at the end of the course, all participants will have a very good understanding of human security, of gender, the part that gender plays in conflict and conflict prevention.
First of all, I'd like to say what a privilege it is to be invited back to deliver human security and gender training in the National Defence College. We delivered training previously in the Army Warfare College, and that was a civil military cooperation and human security course, and that went down very well. So at the end of this course, we're hoping that, in fact, we expect that all the participants will have a very good understanding of human security, of gender, the part that gender plays in conflict and conflict prevention, and how they can integrate that into military planning process to develop that consideration of human security risks, and also the part that gender plays in that as well.
Spy TV News report that the 8th-day Human Security and Gender Advisor course, organized by the Defence Headquarters in collaboration with the British Defence Staff, designed to build capacity and deepen personnel understanding of human security, as well as its implication for...
Rear Admiral, I took that clip from a training session that the military had, and there were 3 major words I underlined as I watched. One is human security. The next is non-kinetic. And the last I wrote down is winning the peace. Now we're telling the story of the Civil War and how it affected the psyche and attitude of the Nigerian military institution as a top dog, as a fierce fighting force. There is peace. There's no war now. What is the military institution doing to psychologically help the personnel who are being trained to move out of that top dog fierce force mentality? Because that's part of the military civil relations.
Mr. Joko, I will just say what we are doing. We are training and we are sensitizing things. Now, I'll bring you back to those keywords you mentioned, the issue of human security. Human security as a word that encompasses food security, environmental security, climate security, health security. So, security now is not only military as we speak. And that's why my Chief of Defense Staff always emphasizes the word that even while we are doing fighting insurgents in the Northeast, it will tell you that the kinetic part of it, that's boots on the ground, is just actually between 35 and 40%. The 60% is non-kinetic. How do you relate with the populace? How do you do confidence building with the populace? How do you win the hearts and minds of the populace? How do you provide governance in open spaces, in non-governed spaces? How do you earn the trust of the populace? Now, so that is what is happening now. The boots on the ground. So at the time of the Civil War, that's about 50 years ago.
Yes.
Warfare has changed from 50 years ago to what is happening now in 2025. Warfare now is not too much about brute about being physical. It's about emotional intelligence. It's about your intelligence quotient. It's about use of technology. It's about knowing leadership principles like issues of integrity, courage. Those are the things that make a soldier. And I want to emphasize the military profession, as you know, is one of the most noble professions since ancient days. So, and that is why the CDS has insisted on sensitizing people. Even set up a sensitization team. We are going around all the geopolitical zones, just to tell them, yes, the military, we're here to support you. The military, we're here to do whatever the president and commander-in-chief tells us to do. And the CDS is really emphasizing this. And that's why you see him at every fora. It's me to tell my command philosophy is people-centric. Mr. Njoku, if you call the CDS now, he may not be able to pick the call, but in the next, before 24 hours, he will reply, send you a text. He's that kind of person. So it just shows the care, and now we have taken the people as the central focus. The people are the center of gravity of what we do. So, sir, what happens in 1967 to 1970 during the Civil War? Now there's a narrative that was created after that, which will take time to heal. And also the foray into politics we needed. So, but now I think there's a little bit, but there's so much more sensitization, so much more interaction. Like before, you don't normally see people coming out. Like part of be coming out here is actually to sensitize people that this is what the military does. It's so the idea is before it's okay, you just show your actions, but we're now trying to share, and we're sensitizing men even to the lower ranks, because they are the people that interface with people more on the streets. Yeah. These people, you are here to serve them. You are here to protect them, protect their infrastructure, and protect the territorial integrity of our country, the army by land, the navy by sea, and the air force by land. So it's more training, more sensitization. More of those trainings are coming up. More of those trainings are coming up, and training is a continuum. Even myself, as a two-star general, I still go for training. And so that is what we do in the armed forces.
I will come back to this issue, but before that, let me tell you a story. I was with the Nigerian military in both Liberia and Sierra Leone. On the night that the Nigerian military crossed the Mano River, there were about 3 of us who were lucky because of our relationships. And as I've said to 1 or 2 military men who have interacted with me, I said, that was a masterpiece in military engineering. And if not that military president Ibrahim Babangida didn't want certain thing to happen, the Nigerian military have ended that nonsense in a matter of hours after that crossing. But how many Nigerians know about it? Why does the Nigerian military seem a little bit reluctant to tell its own story? With all its achievements in Sierra Leone, real combat, at the same time protecting the civilian population, which is what we're discussing this morning. Why is the military, our military, a little bit unwilling to tell its own story?
Mr. Njoku, I will probably also tell you another story, or a joke. There's the issues of, they will tell you that Mungo Park discovered Nigeria. Now the person who showed Mungo Park, where River Niger, who showed Mungo Park, River Niger, but the story everywhere is that Mungo Park discovered River Niger. Now, in the same Liberia, there was this American journalist that came and he said, I think he just came for 3 months, and he now wrote a story on how the war in Liberia was fought and won. He wrote it, he got the credits for it, and he was there just for 3 months. He just bring back to it, so why do we need to actually document our history, document what we have done. It's difficult to buy institutional memory, and that's one thing we are sensitizing our generals now, that try and put, even retired generals, try and document things, let people know what's the military, because the military has really done a lot for this country. That's why people are now writing memos and whatever. Then on the other part of telling the story of the military, currently the military is trying its bit to showcase what we are doing. And just like I mentioned, the CDS is available. It tells people from the strategic level, it chats with the media on what the military is doing. There's a media brief every, I think 2 times a month, defense media operations, while they brief people on what the military is doing. Also the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, they're on the social media. I'm also sure the Navy, there's a program, they are on 3 TV stations, and all of them have their magazines which they do. We're trying to tell bits and pieces of our story, of what we do. But you see, just like the Nigerian style, good news does not really sell too much. And the truth is that if I enter the studio, maybe I meet your gate man as I'm coming now, and maybe your gate man slaps me and probably I retaliate. The story that will come out is that a Rear Admiral slapped the gate man, not that the gate man first slapped the Rear Admiral. So, but it also shows the level of perception. But I think the military is getting there. There might be some gaps, which is obvious. There are gaps in every station, but the military is trying to tell out their story. The military is putting itself out. But I must tell you, sir, the military is really doing a lot to the issues of being overstressed in this country. We're in about 36 states of the country carrying out one internal security duties or the other. DHQ has about 8 theaters of operations. When you say Nigeria is not at war, I don't want to. Nigeria is not at war as per war, but there's a lot of challenge with the militaries having sleepless nights, and the presidency is supporting the military. I think they know what the military is facing. They know because they attend some of our briefs, so they know it's not all things that happen that is in the public. Yeah, but the people that need to know that there's a lot of things the military is doing, a lot of sacrifices the military is, and unfortunately in doing this, we lose a lot of men. So those are the things we are doing, and the military is trying to tell its stories.
Now let me move from the storytelling to the actual experience. You just mentioned now that the military is in almost 8 theaters of operation in the country. Let me draw from the experience of the United States. I hope you don't mind me doing that. When American soldiers stay too long in theaters of war, 1 year, moved from location to location, the military as an institution realizes that there's a psychological damage. There's a new mental framework now guiding their reactions and action. I just told you before we went on air that I've come to work this morning. Chances are that I could be here till 10 p.m. But if I do this routine regularly for about 1 month, 2 weeks, my patience becomes short. I may scream at a reporter. I may react wrongly. The same thing. When our military is so stretched, some of them stay 2 months, 3 months, 4 months in operation, and as they're getting back to get some rest, something else develops and they are redeployed and they continue. How do you manage? Because you throw them back into society, don't you? And their patience becomes brittle. How do you manage that?
So the military works under very stringent, unfortunately, very stringent conditions. You deploy somebody to an operational area. The basic thing is 6 months, then you redeploy. But we are overwhelmed. A lot of work has to be done. And now, when you now remove him after 6 months, there's a problem somewhere else. You redeploy the person. Now there is this issue of doing a kind of training. You are recruiting 1,000 every year. Now, while that is good on its part, now training for the military, it took me 5 years in NDA, and since I've been going for training for over 20 years, different training, the training has to be holistic. So you now say, okay, I recruit somebody for 6 months, I take him to the war front. It is not holistic. So that is why there are gaps, there are challenges. But in trying to mitigate that, we try to enhance the welfare of the soldier. Enhance that when he's there at the war front or any area of operation, his family is well taken care of. There's money enough for his wife to feed his children. There's medical for his children. There are schools. That's why we have welfare schools. We have welfare hospitals in the military. Because the soldier, the officer, needs to be taken care of for him to face what he's doing. So there are a lot of challenges which the military and right now, just like they are trying to do everything that will make the soldier. You can't make him comfortable because he's going to a place where he's not comfortable. He's not comfortable. He cannot be comfortable in a front. But he needs to go somewhere and know that his family is well. His children are going to school. His family is safe. His welfare is taken care of. And the presidency now, and with a lot of things the CDS is doing, the military salary is paid on time. Like the ration cash allowance that they used to pay, it has been increased now to something that the soldier can really enjoy a good meal, and most of the things to try as much as possible within the resources that is released to make sure that the soldier at least is comfortable too. But the issue of being redeployed, you may not be able to do anything about it, and that is why also, because of issues of trauma, the post-traumatic stress syndrome, after redeployment, the soldier is evaluated for PTSD and is monitored for a while, monitored for a long time. Because even in the US, one of the greatest casualties now is soldiers have come back from operations, they could just wake up and start shooting their wives or something. So those are the things and issues of when you're exposed to long stay at operations, you may be exposed to issues of drugs and so many things. That I'm talking about narcotics and everything, but so it's a thing, it's an old thing that we are trying to manage. And the CDS has also emphasized that it's not all about kinetics. It's more about non-kinetic approach. How do you build a society? How do you make sure there is governance felt in the society? How do you secure people? Because right now, the military now gets a territory, able to, drive out the Boko Haram or insurgents. Now they give it now to probably police, NSCDC to hold, and they move to another place. So there are different types of deployments, and insurgency and all those challenges are evolving. You see one everywhere. Insurgency is a long battle to fight, and different things to it.
You know why I raise this matter? When we are discussing civil-military relations, the perception by the civilian in the street some of the time comes from the action of the ordinary soldier. And when that soldier is overstretched and his patience is breakable, you cannot blame him for his reaction. Meanwhile, the civilian is judging the entire military institution by the action of that man who did not do it purposely, but because. Now, you cannot answer me this question, but we are just going to converse on it. Because you cannot determine how many challenges are going to erupt. As Nigeria faces this, more challenges every day, what ought we, the civilians, be doing to help our relationship with you in the military? Because challenges you are not creating the challenges, you are just responding to them. What should we be doing as civilians to enhance our own relationship with the military?
Okay, sir, I'll probably still go back to what I said in the beginning, that the military is our military. We are an integral part of the society. Now the governor, the president and commander-in-chief, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, understands some of those things and is trying to equip the military, not only with equipment to fight, but with other logistics so that we can feel comfortable. Now, what's happening now, about people getting annoyed, it's not only, I don't want to say it's, yes, the military, maybe because you have gone through so many issues of pressure.
Sure.
Now I say, okay, how much is even my salary safe? That one conductor is coming to ask me, you understand that
Up
kind
to
of
me
thing?
anyhow.
Yeah. So those things, with time, we need to sense. And the civil pop should have it at back of their mind also, to show love to the military. It maybe I'm saying this one, I'm saying it, that guy say you should show love to the military, and the military man come and slap. No, show love to the military. Appreciate your military. But you see, with what we are doing now, the civilians will also. There's a story about a woman in Maiduguri that there was a medical rhapsody. The woman, her son took her for a medical rhapsody, and she was given free eyeglasses. Then I think they did a cataract operation for her, a cataract surgery. So after like 5 months, the boy left. He came back and he wanted to be recruited as one of the informants of Boko Haram terrorists. And when they told his mother, the mother said, no. What are these people going to do? He said, they're going to be fighting the military. He said, no. Is it the military that restored my sight? Is it the military that gave me glasses? So we're trying now, quick impact on the people, to win the hearts and minds of the people. And that is why the CDS has also set up committees to sensitize. We also need to mention that we're working with the National Orientation Agency. We're working with the National Orientation Agency to see how we can showcase what the military is doing. It's all part of governance. We are doing our own little bit to ensure governance, because, and I also mentioned it, that the military in the Northeast and some part of the Northwest will escort farmers to farm, to cultivate their crops. Because also food security is part of security. If somebody is hungry, the military is doing a lot of things. So I think the civil populace should appreciate this. The civil populace should actually show empathy. It may be funny, it will show empathy for the military, because what the military is facing is actually very peculiar. Not to now say a military man say, okay, they are waiting with their cameras and say, okay, I want to see this man slap somebody, and they will now post it to go viral. I think that's not the way. You should love your military and support your military in every way. I think that's my message to civil populace. But eventually the military will get there. We will build trust, we will build confidence in our military, and we will win the hearts and minds of our military.
I'm talking about winning the hearts and minds of the military. Let me get back to before 1966. We used to have great military friends, but they were not the military people who would hang around you with their uniforms. They had their barracks, fantastic. The Mami Market was a lovely place to go. And our military soldiers were very proud, were very well quartered. But Rear Admiral, permit me to paint a picture. I'm not trying to underrate anything that has been happening. Today in Lagos, if you enter a Bolekaja or enter a Molue, chances are that you see a military man in uniform going to work. If you enter the Air Rufai buses in Abuja, chances are that you see a military man in uniform going to work. If you hire a flat in an estate, chances are that you see a military family that has rented an apartment there. That's even good enough. If you go to Maraba and Nyanya, most likely, you see another rank and his family in a face-me and face-you accommodation. And in these circumstances, a regimented, trained military personnel is interacting skin to skin the civilian. And chances are that one day the civilian just does the wrong thing and he will react militarily. And the story will be that the military man is rough. What are you doing? What is the military authority, the institution, doing to get our military personnel a little bit well quartered, so that when we meet them, we salute? Not when we're about to enter, my face me, I face you, I'm rubbing shoulder with a military officer.
Mr. Jugo, the military is doing a lot in terms of providing barracks. But back to your question, maybe one of these days we'll probably take you on a tour of what the military is doing in terms of provision of accommodation. We are building a lot. But you see, when you look at what was the population of the military prior to 1967, then there was a lot of recruitment during the war. And now there's so much recruitment because of the challenges we are facing. Now the recruitment, you need to have, apart from recruiting the man, you need to train, you need to provide accommodation, you need to provide transportation. Now the rate of developing, building these barracks, we're not able to catch up with the rate we are recruiting, So across the services, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, they are doing a lot of catch up in terms of building barracks, getting buses, they call them transit buses, to take people to, I know about last month, Ikeja Cantonment, which was now renamed General Taurid Lagbaja's Cantonment. Apart from the recommissioning, there are a lot of structures coming up there to accommodate the soldiers, so that there will be less infraction with the civil populace. And also, there are a lot of places outskirts, like in Giri, outskirts of Abuja, and also I know the Navy, they are building a lot of places in Badagry, in Lagos, and just to mitigate some of these issues. But we also know that there are constraints in the resource. There are other competing needs for resources, so we just to prioritize. But I know the Army, the Navy, and the Air Force, they are doing a lot to make the soldier comfortable. They are doing a lot to make the soldier comfortable with the resources that is being allocated to them. I understand that, and I know that it's not when you see soldiers in a Molo bus or whatever, it's but I know the military is doing a lot. And that's why also some of us as officers, we try, when we see some soldiers, we pick them and we go. But I think it will take some time, but we're in the right trajectory. The CDS is engaging all the service chiefs to see how we can make things more comfortable for the officer. Even before the DHQ, now Defense Headquarters and Headquarters, we are building barracks. Not only the service, not only the Army, the Defense Headquarters itself is building a lot of barracks, just to alleviate some of these problems. It's work in progress. We'll try and see if we can get there.
Well, while it is work in progress and we're believing that we'll get there, I'm not going to take a break at all, because this is an interesting conversation this morning. One of the things I said is winning peace. And because of this conversation, Rear Admiral has said winning the hearts and minds of the people. If my producer is ready, let us look at that military outreach, medical outreach, and we'll come back to continue the conversation. Please stay with us.
Àti bàbá, àti màmá, àti ọmọ, àti everybody, ẹ káàárọ̀. Nǹkan tá wá ṣe lénìí, àwa tá wà ní uniform yìí, owó tax, owó orí táwọn èèyàn máa ń san, wọ́n fi ń san salary wa. We are here láti protect yín. Kì í ṣe ọ̀tá yín o. Ọ̀rẹ́ yín ni gbogbo wa jẹ́ níbí báyìí. And that is why tí ọ̀gá wa pátápátá General Christopher Gami Musa tó pé kí n wá sí ìgbà ilé yìí. Pé nǹkan táwọn Bigcroft àti gbogbo wọn àti tó ń ṣe ní Majiku, the military is your friend. We are here to protect you. It is your money, your taxes that pay our salary, your taxes buy our uniform. You understand? So we are not your enemy in any form. I'm a protecting. So gbogbo tá máa make available lẹ́yìn ẹ ṣe ìfúnpá kẹ́ ṣe blood pressure gbogbo test tó máa ní láti refine kẹ́ mọ̀ so that wọ́n á lè refine so that ẹ lè lọ gba oògùn níbi tó máa refine sí. nǹkan tá a fẹ́ ni pé kí àlàáfíà wà because tí àlàáfíà ò bá sí ìlú ò lè tòrò cooperation láàrin ẹ̀yin àti àwa ló yẹ kó wà important. So nǹkan tá a bẹ̀ yìí fún mi tẹ bá gbọ́ pé àwọn kan ṣe cultism àwọn ṣe kankan ẹ sọ fún àwọn tó wà mí báyìí and I'm sure wọn púpọ̀ ní lọ́mọ ní military and everything so we are not àkínṣe ẹni ní rárá ọ̀rẹ́ yín ní púpọ̀ ní wa ṣe understand. So General Christopher Gwabi Musa olórí pátápátá di Armed Forces of Nigeria ló sọ pé ká wá ọ̀rẹ́ yín náà jẹ́ ìfúnpá àti everything ẹjọ́ kẹ́ check ẹ̀ tó máa check ojú whatever tó máa ní láti check whatever tó máa ní láti fún yín kẹ́ gbà so mo kàn tún kí yín lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí o ọ̀nà àwọn.
Ask me, why did you not translate what the Rear Admiral was saying? I purposely left it because I wanted us to appreciate that the communication is not above the head of the people. In other words, our military is communicating to be understood, interacting in real time with us, the population. If I had gone translating English and all that, that begins to be a little bit highfalutin, isn't it? Rear Admiral, that is for my own benefit. I want to take you on. You know that somehow they say a prophet is not honored in his home. Each time the Nigerian military goes outside, it comes out flying beautiful colors. Accomplished. I've told you the story of both Liberia and Sierra Leone, myself. How does the performance of the Nigerian military outside rub off on how the Nigerian civilian sees its military, or in fact ought to rub off? Because we said, those in advertising, they say perception is everything. You do so well outside, and let me accuse you again, you don't come back to tell us, but some of us know. How does those performances affect your relationship with civilians back home?
Okay, sir. The Nigerian military is engaged in a lot of peacekeeping efforts. And as you are aware, in all the peacekeeping efforts, Nigeria, in the Congo, in Liberia, in Mali, Nigeria has proved itself very well. They have acquitted themselves very well. It's the same soldiers that you are picking from Nigeria. It's not that you are recruiting, it's not that you pick them from Nigeria, you go on and train them somewhere and they performed. So it's actually the same. So it's a matter of issue of perception. What environment are they subject to work to outside? What equipment is available for them to work with outside? So it's a matter of perception. Now, apart from the issue of perception for the military, for the civilian, peacekeeping is an avenue. I would say this, the military is also an element of diplomacy. There's something they call in the military, in the Navy, they call it flag showing. When you acquire a ship, maybe it's coming from Europe, it goes around countries. It goes around before it comes to its final port in Lagos. Now, every visit to a port is called flag showing. It signifies the potential of that country. Okay, Nigeria has this big ship, it's about 112 kilometers. It shows the kind of, it also projects us as a diplomatic power.
In other words, we have teeth.
Yes, so we can. They call it when you have a lot of fleets like that. They call it fleet and bin. That means they know that you have teeth, and nobody really jokes with you. So the same thing with peacekeeping. It's important that we as a people perceive our soldiers honorably well. And also another thing about peacekeeping that we do is that it's also a money earner for the country. You understand? Because they are what they call contingency owned equipment that the UN. But if you go to Bangladesh and Ghana, that is one of their major sources of income. Peacekeeping, Bangladesh, Ghana. So we need to do more of this peacekeeping. But the challenge we have in Nigeria, you need to keep your home safe to have the soldiers
That's true.
to send for peacekeeping. The CDS has a mind of reactivating the issues of peacekeeping, but we need to actually secure our home first before projecting power outside. Just call it projection of power outside. But I just want to assure you, it's the same military, it's the same training we've had from the Nigerian Army Depot for officers, from the Nigerian Defense Academy, from the Armed Forces Commander Staff College, Jaji, from the war colleges and the National Defense College, to be patriotic and all the leadership duties we need to do. So it's still the same. So I think it's just a matter of perception. They said a prophet is not honored in his own destiny, but if you go out and it's also on a lighter note, there was a time I traveled while I was on course, and I went with a friend of mine, and when I saw the roads, when I saw these roads, I just started speeding, and I was stopped, and the man, I told him, there is a way he would talk to you that he will just say, sir, please, sir, just have to write. But I'm not saying we should encourage speeding. It's indiscipline, but the
road was good.
But the road was very good. I didn't even know when I oversped and overshot the speed limit. So, sir, it's thing that I will still urge our populace that gives the military some credit. Give the military some credit. Look at what they are doing. Look at the pressure they are under. Sometimes I used to wonder, my CDS, I don't know why I use them as an example, does he sleep? That's the question. I said, Oga, do you sleep, sir? Because 24/7 there's something that is happening. And now because of his own kind of leadership, apart from the messages he gets from his commanders on the ground, you see a local government chairman, you see a district, because he's been open to a lot of them, he sent him information. And that is why any commander cannot just send CDS, because that information, as you are sending it to him, people on the ground will have sent him something more comprehensive, so you know what. So I used to ask, Oga, do you sleep? How do you manage this? But there's a way of making Nigeria great, and I think the military is trying its best.
Rear Admiral, this conversation has been cozy. Allow me to ruffle further a little bit.
Okay, sir.
I was about to play a clip, but I do not think it makes the conversation beautiful to play the clip. I just asked the question blind. When some of your personnel really roughen the civilians, when some of your personnel get involved as debt collectors or land dispute settlers, and they settle those things the military way. Permit me to explain what I mean by the military is a force, my brother. Let's not pretend about it. And apply real force to settle that matter. And that force sometimes can account for the death of somebody. A clip went viral last week where a retired officer got some of his boys to roundedly deal with some people. There was also a viral video where some Air Force officers broke into a power building because they didn't have electricity. When your officers conduct themselves in that manner, undermining all this conversation we have held this morning, what do you do?
Okay, sir. The two episodes you just narrated now, I don't want to call them allegedly because they were shown on the videos, on the TV. I want to start that the military hierarchy right now, the defense headquarters, the army, the navy, and air force headquarters, have zero tolerance for any form of indiscipline. They have zero tolerance for any form of indiscipline. And appropriate administrative steps are being taken, and they are seriously being taken. No matter your rank, if you infringe, if you are supposed to be sanctioned, you will be sanctioned. So it's not what you saw on the TV. Yes, you could say it says force, but it's a military force. But you use military force in a professional manner, not by going to, you understand. But that's why I said it is being tackled, it is being handled, and appropriate sanctions will be, no matter what the rank is. I know the CDS is concerned about this, and the Chief of Air Staff is on top of the situation to anybody. So because, and that is why if right now I'm carrying a name tag, we will see OA Bankole. If I go out and I need to conduct myself in a professional manner, there is what they call a military etiquette, and that's what the civil populace expects from me. Anything beyond that, it's not, and I could be sanctioned if I do that.
Rear Admiral, there's a question my viewer expressed me to ask you this morning.
I hope I can answer it.
You know the story of Wadume, the kidnapped kingpin, who was released by some military personnel. And I know for a fact, I've done 3 stories on it here, why the military has refused to release the officers for prosecution. Is it institutional protection for somebody who did wrong?
You see, there is a need for us to also protect, for example, people that give us information. People are kept in custody, not because they want to be kept there, they are kept for their own protection. The story of Adume was about some years ago, and this was supposed to be someone that was alleged to have issues with militants and insurgents. So I think the military, they're trying to, I may not be able to say the details, but we could be keeping him to protect himself and also to protect the country. We could be using him for something. So.
Okay. Well, I decided to add that question on your behalf because I'm sure you find me guilty if I didn't ask it, because that is the right person to ask the question, because we are conversing on military-civil relations. I've enjoyed myself this morning. The past 56 minutes, I've been conversing with Rear Admiral. You know that I'm aging now. Let me read it properly. Olusanya Bankole. He is the Chief of Defense, Civil Military Relations, Defense Headquarters here in Abuja. On your behalf, let me thank him for coming to the program. Thank you very much, Rear Admiral.
So I want to thank you, sir, for having me on this program, and also please help us to assure our audience that the military is the Nigerian military. We are your friends. We are here to serve you. We are here to protect you. And we'll continue to do that in a professional manner. Thank you for your time this morning, sir.
Thank you very much. Take it from me, the Nigerian military is our military. I'm very proud of the military because I've had skin-to-skin relationship with them, and they are worthy of being proud of. This conversation never ends. It continues tomorrow, and my name never changes. It remains Mwaboz Njoko. Please have a great day and good morning.